It either takes a lot of humility or a lot of desperation for a professional fisherman to take advice on how to fish from a guy who's just a religious leader. Simon Peter knew that the right time to fish was at night, when they are mending their nets along the seashore, the lake shore. It's mid-morning, the wrong time to fish. And in other accounts of this story, we hear Jesus say to put the nets on the right side of the boat. Well, it may not be evident to us what kind of a thing this is to do, because most people, being right-handed, if they're going to throw a net, they're going to throw it to the left, because that's the good cast that one needs. So, heavenly wisdom doesn't look like earthly wisdom. St. Paul, in the first reading that we hear from his letter to the Colossians, speaks specifically about praying that we may be filled with the knowledge of God's will through all spiritual wisdom and understanding, to walk in a manner according to the Lord. Now, of course, we may want to be focused on doing the Lord's will when it comes to things that we specifically consider to be religious. But then what happens sometimes is that we get caught up in this idea that the things that are religious and God gets involved, and the things that aren't religious, we don't need to involve God. So I've been doing a couple projects around the friary recently, and I was trying to install a TV antenna, they still exist, in order to pick up the local broadcasts, because we decided we only watch 2 of the main normal channels, so why should we pay for cable, especially since they're both TV stations that are broadcast. So I spent 2 or 3 hours trying to figure out where to put this antenna. Now, you can imagine that I went to bed a bit tired. And the next morning I realized I'm asking myself, someone who doesn't know much about where in the house would be the best place for an antenna. So I prayed and I said, God, I'm sure you know where the best place to put this antenna is. And sure enough, the idea came to me to stick it on the 3rd floor and to run a cable down to the TV from the 3rd floor on the north side. And we pick up the 2 stations we were looking for, WMUR and New Hampshire Public Broadcasting. Just those 2. No, there's 68 other channels, but we want to ask, however, and we are invited to ask God to give us insight even in our earthly business. Because, let's face it, God's ways are sometimes beyond our ways. And we want to make sure that though there is a natural way to do business or a natural way to be engaged in certain things, that God may have spiritual understanding, spiritual wisdom and insight for us, even in the midst of the things we might think we can take care of on our own.